Hello everyone, welcome to the next video of C programming. In the previous video, we have understood how to install the IDE to write down the C program, and also you have followed two steps by going to the execute menu. But the first step is actually known as compilation, and the second step is known as your execution. Okay, so instead of this abstract keywords, let us go in depth. Okay, what is the meaning of compilation and what is the meaning of execution? Okay. Now, whenever you are writing any C program, that is actually known as a source code. Okay. So let us understand what do you mean by actually source code. This particular code we have written earlier in the previous video. Okay. So whatever we have written, if you will consider whatever we have written, the entire thing is known as your source code. So whenever you will write any program in the IDE, all the steps, every line is actually known as your source code. Okay. Now, after writing source code, directly it cannot be executed. Okay. So what you need to do, you have to provide that source code to the preprocessor. Now let us understand what do you mean by preprocessor. Now, first of all, source code is with the extension of .c. This source code is passed through the preprocessor. Now the work of the preprocessor, it will expand. Okay. Its work is to expand this code, and then it will finally pass to the compiler. But if you'll details, if you'll try to understand what is a CPU processor, now anything which is starting with a symbol hash is known as a preprocessor. Okay. Any line which is starting with the symbol hash are actually known as your preprocessor directive. So there is a special chapter that will discuss at the end regarding preprocessor. But for the timing, if you want to understand what do you mean by preprocessor, anywhere any program which is starting with a hash symbol is known as a preprocessor. Okay. Now that particular line is a command for itself and works accordingly. What do you mean by that? Now, by using the preprocessor, okay, now any predefined things you have written, like in our program, we have written printf. So, printf is nothing but it's a predefined keyword. Now, the meaning of the predefined keyword is present in here, which is known as a preprocessor. Okay. Now, by passing through preprocessor, the source code will be expanded. That means to the compiler, this particular line will never be given for compilation. Automatically, it will be expanded, and the expanded code by with the help of preprocessor will be given to the compiler. Okay. So for the timing, just try to understand any statement which is starting with a hash symbol is known as a preprocessor, and its work, it will expand the source code and pass it to the compiler. Okay. Now coming to the second phase. Now the by passing through preprocessor, it will be expanded code. Now the expanded code will be given input to the compiler. Now what do you mean by the compiler? What is the work of the compiler? Okay. Now the compiler will convert this particular code, this expanded code, into machine understandable code. Clear? And that is known as your machine's assembly language code. Okay. So this expanded code is converted by the compiler into the machine's assembly language code. These are some symbols that needs to be converted. What actually the machine can understand. Okay. And that code is known as your assembly code. Okay. Now this assembly code is given input to the assembler. Now what actually the assembler does? The assembler does nothing, but it converts. Okay. It converts the code into object code by using the system assembler. Okay. So that means the .c file will be converted to dot obj or dot o file. Okay, we'll see through practical that how it is being converted. But remember, the source code, just the English words that you are writing in the ID. By help of the preprocessor, the source code will be converted into expanded code. The expanded code is given to the compiler. The compiler will convert it into machine's assembly language code. That assembly code is given to the assembler. Assembler converts the assembly code into object code. Okay. After that, it is given to the linker. Now, the work of the linker means it does the process of linking. Okay. Like, suppose you are designing a particular project. Okay. Now, some file is present here, some files are present in other location. But to give the proper output, this file needs to be linked. How you will be linking? Now you have to do something, you have to write some program so that this file needs to be linked with the file one. Okay, and that is done by the work of the linker. Okay, so generally what happens, all programs are written in C and they use different kinds of library function. Library function means there's some predefined functions. These are pre-compiled and their object code is already stored in the library files. Okay, we'll see the library functions also. But for the timing, you try to understand that these are some pre-compiled or predefined functions. Okay. So what actually the linker does? The linker combines this predefined object codes, okay, with the object code whatever our program generated. Clear? So that means our program may also contain references to different functions that are defined in different files, like the example I have given. Okay, so the main important task of the linker, it links the object code of these files to our program. Okay, so the job of the linker is only to combine the object code of our program with the object code of other files or the object code of library function, the predefined functions. Okay, so finally, what actually the linker provides? The output of the linker is an executable file, the .exe file. Normally, what we do as a double click. Okay, so many applications, whenever you will download, it will be in .exe file. So in .exe format, you need to only execute that. Okay, so the primary or the main objective of linker, it provides the executable file. Okay, so these are what is actually the steps what already we have done through the programming from source code to the .exe file. Everything will be done it step by step. Okay, so here we have written only a simple example to test whether our ID is working or not. But if you'll try to understand, everything is present here only, the preprocessor. Then uh, once we'll go to the options. Okay, if you'll go to the execute option, you will see compile. Compile means it will convert into assembly code, then run or execute. It will finally, the linker comes into picture and it links everything to provide you the .exe file. Okay, so this is what actually the complete process of compilation and execution of a simple C program. Hopefully you have understood whatever the example you have written in the previous video, the steps whatever you have followed to get the output, you have understood in this video. Okay, so simply the source code is converted. The best part is there are different steps that we have discussed which converted the raw source code into various steps it is following, and finally executable code is being generated. Okay, this is what the process or the principle of compilation and execution process. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching this particular videos through which you have understood what is actually known as compilation and what do we mean by execution. Okay, so for every C program we'll follow these two steps, compilation and execution. Okay,